Welcome again to Joe Stunner Boxing. I was thinking about boxing nicknames, and some of the really good ones, and sometimes the really good ones are not the obvious ones, because you got like Sugar Ray Robinson, Sugar Ray Leonard, Muhammad Ali's called the greatest. James Lights Out Tony, that was a really good one. And the Eastern Assassin, Larry Holmes. There's a load of them, and you get a lot of like hitmen. Ricky Hatton was called the Hitman Hatton, and Tommy Hearns was the Hitman, and so there's the really obvious ones, right? But there's some lesser known ones, or you know, I say lesser known. I suppose it depends how much you're into boxing. But I thought I'd compile just a sort of top 10 off the top of my head. I haven't given this a great deal of thought. Probably after I've done this video, I'll think, oh, why didn't I include that one? But I wrote down 10 nicknames that I really like. I really, really like. And you'll have heard of some, maybe you won't be so familiar with others. So I'm going to go through them, and then afterwards you can leave your comments and tell me, what your favourite boxing nicknames are. And also tell me what nickname you'd have if you were a fighter. Or maybe you've been a fighter and you've had a nickname. But anyway, let's do this 10. At number 10, I've got none other than James Bonecrusher Smith. When I first heard of Bonecrusher Smith, it was just before he fought Frank Bruno. I think the Bruno fight was the first time I saw him fight, and he crushed Bruno in the 10th round. He was losing that fight, and then he knocked Bruno flat in the 10th round, finished him off. That was Bruno's first defeat. So Bonecrusher Smith, definitely. At number 9, another heavyweight, the Brockton Blockbuster, Rocky Marciano. We all know Rocky Marciano, 49-0, undefeated heavyweight champ, the only one. But the Brockton Blockbuster, what a fantastic name. Bit of alliteration there, Brockton Blockbuster, 3 B's in a row. So, And then at 8, you've got, this is just my personal list, but at 8 I've put Willie Pep, Willow the Wisp. I think that's a good one. That's a good little nickname, Willow the Wisp. Suited him perfectly because he was almost impossible to hit. There's that legend about him winning a round without landing a punch because he was just so elusive. I don't know whether that's true or not, but I never really looked into that. But yeah, that's a sort of legend, isn't it? And then at 7, I've put Mickey Walker, the Toy Bulldog, which I really like. I mean, Mickey Walker was a great middleweight fighter. Not really Toy Bulldog implies that you're like a flyweight or a bantamweight, but I just love the name. I think it's a real descriptive name. Great fighter, Mickey Walker, as well, of course. We're going way back, 100. Mickey Walker, we're talking nearly 100 years ago, Jesus Christ. And then at 6, Jack Johnson, the Galveston Giant. Again, alliteration, Galveston Giant, 2 G's. Yeah, good, I like that one. Because it kind of sounds imposing, and Jack Johnson, of course, even though by today's standards he'd be a small heavyweight, back then he was a big, strong guy, like a giant, a scary guy. And then at number 5, I've got one that's always stuck in my mind, and I don't know why, right? Because it's just, I think, because it's so weird, I don't really understand exactly where it's come from. Johnny Bumpus, who was let me get this right, I think he might have been WBA super lightweight champ, light welterweight champ, back in the mid 80s. Held that briefly before he lost it to Gene Hatcher, I think. But anyway, his nickname, this is always stuck in my mind, was Bump City. What the fuck is that? What's Bump City? I guess because his name is Bumpus. Bump, he's got bump in it, so Bump City. Don't get it, but it's stuck in my mind as being quite funny. That popped into my mind when I was doing this list. Anyway, at number 4, I've got Tommy Hearns, but of course he was known as the Hitman, but prior to that he was known as the Motor City Cobra. From Detroit, Motor City, car industry and so on. Cobra, put it together, the Motor City Cobra. What a brilliant name. And of course when he was a welterweight, which is when he had that nickname, ferocious welterweight, enormous reach, 6 foot, was he 6'1.5", 6'2", something like that. Just an incredibly imposing praying mantis of a fighter at welterweight. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. At number 3, I've got Sam Langford, the great, well, I say heavyweight. In fact, he fought at many lower weights and beat some extremely good men, some Hall of Famers. A great fighter, Sam Langford, often overlooked. Did fight at heavyweight. The colour bar was in place then, but a great fighter. Small, very small for heavyweight, probably a super middleweight, light heavy at the most by today's standards. But his nickname was the Boston Tar Baby. The Boston Tar Baby. What a brilliant nickname, because it's unique. You know what I mean? It's like a lot of these. It's not like, you know, some of the familiar ones, the cliche ones, Sugars and Hitmen and all that. You know, the Boston Tar Baby. What a brilliant nickname. I love that. From Boston, obviously. But then at number 2, I've got Jimmy Wild, who's my favourite flyweight of all time. But he had 2 nicknames, and either of them will do, because I think they're both brilliant. Number 1 was the Mighty Atom, because he was so tiny. He was really just like a light flyweight by today's standards. And he was beating up featherweights. You know, it wasn't uncommon for him to fight much bigger men. The Mighty Atom, but he also had another nickname, which was, and this is fantastic, the Ghost with the Hammer in his hand. What a brilliant nickname, the Ghost with the Hammer in his hand. Again, a bit of alliteration, hammer and hand, you know, that tends to work. Right. So that's Jimmy Wild at 2. But at number 1, this is my all-time favourite nickname for any fighter, Alexis Arguello, the Explosive Thin Man. What a fantastically descriptive, brilliant, original, unique nickname. The Explosive Thin Man. I mean, it sounds like a superhero, doesn't it? He'd probably come into the ring with it, you know, a big, with a cape on or something, or, you know, his underpants over his fucking trousers or something. But I just think that's absolutely fantastic. I love it to bits. So that's my top 10. It's just off the top of my head, just a bit of fun. Leave yours below. Tell me what you think, and we'll have a bit of a laugh over some. I've probably forgotten some. I know for a fact you're going to put ones down, and I'll think, why don't I think of that? Anyway, put them down. I'll have a look, and as always, thanks for your time. Subscribe if you're new. Hit the subscribe button. Takes a second, helps us out. Like the video, and I'll speak again soon to you. Take care. Bye for now.